So, welcome to LCSL. It's always a pleasure to see all your beautiful faces and to be able to share time with you. I'm thankful for Zoom. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful blessing through this whole thing. And we'll never not use it again, I'm sure, because it just works so well. And we're very grateful for that. Now, we take a breath. And we recognize Spirit, Spirit, the one, the absolute, the love, the health, the wealth, the joy, the supreme I am, and we are. And we take a deep breath and just get a real good feeling for what Spirit is and what it is to us. And we breathe into that. And we've gathered here this morning to be with each other, to focus on Spirit, but also to share with others of like-mindedness, to grow, to share, and to be more. And so we welcome the learning that comes with Spirit and each other. We welcome this perfect opportunity. And we know that it is perfect, right, and good. And together we seal it with the words, and so it is. Okay. Tammy is going to do our opening reading.
Yes. And hello to everyone. I argued back and forth about what it was going to be, but I chose December 25th from this month's Guide for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind. And today, something wonderful happened. CBS Sunday Morning had a vignette on kindness. And I know Ernest is just jumping up and down all over the place. We made it on national news. We have before, but it always strikes me as how wonderful that what we know occurs in the mass population. So, a direct personal relationship. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. Jesus of Nazareth. The kingdom of heaven is that place within ourselves where there is universal and individual peace at all times. Peace that holds no doubt of our abiding good and wise divine protection. To enter, we must simply recognize that this kingdom exists and exactly where Jesus taught us to seek it, within ourselves. Ernest Holmes. There's a great deal about the birth, life, and teaching of Jesus of Nazareth that is worthy of celebration, whether you call yourself a Christian or not. Indeed, whenever we find a message that brings joy, peace, inclusion, compassion, and reverence for the divine, we have found something well worth celebrating. I know why I celebrate the Christian message. It is because I am grateful for what I have learned from Jesus, to be courageous and dare to question the established ways of thinking, to speak up about unjust laws, to be fearlessly compassionate, to reach out to those who are sick and suffering, to attend to my shortcomings before judging others for theirs, to be empathetic and reach across the tribal boundaries to embrace people of all kinds, even those who are traditionally thought of as enemies, to have personal dignity under stress and not buckle under the weight of popular opinion, to be true to myself when the masses disapprove, to be charitable and stand for forgiveness and help those who are disproportionately disadvantaged, to be down to earth about my spirituality and to practice it, and above all, to have a direct and personal relationship with the divine. Perhaps the most important of them all is the new commandment he gave to the world. The thing I think upon the most around Christmas time, that we love one another as we are loved by creation. Today, I let love be born in me again, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Tammy. I am going first, and it is my privilege and honor to do that. We're going to do some songs, and my song that I chose is "O Holy Night." It's my favorite Christmas carol, and in 1993, this particular version became my favorite of all the renditions that I have ever heard. We've all heard it many times, and we all know the story behind it. But did you ever stop to consider that the God within Jesus is the same God within each of us? And it was the same God in Mary, Jesus's mother, that kept her faithful to the fact that the baby growing inside her was special. Special to the point of being the Messiah her people had been waiting centuries for. In many ways, Mary is the star of this show because she held that thought throughout her pregnancy and delivery, and no doubt it was the power of her faith that drew the shepherds and the visitors from afar. Because think about it, that bright star, so high in the heavens, like the one we will get to see tomorrow night, would have been shining over the homes of any number of babies born that same day or the day before. But it was likely Mary's spiritual wavelengths that brought them all to the stable in Bethlehem. As he grew, Mary shared and reinforced the same knowing of greatness with her toddler, her small boy, her teenager, and her young man, until he himself was certain of his oneness with God. How different might your life have been if, from your conception to your adult life, your mother had said to you what Mary continually said to her son? "O Holy Night" is a song about praising the birth of a baby we know to be Jesus. But as metaphysicians, we know that this baby was not the great exception. He was the great example. And each of us, even as a newborn babe and still now today, has everything we need within us to be this kind of great. Prepare yourself to listen anew. O holy night of our dear one's birth. O night divine, O night when you were born. Listen to this beautiful song, and this time feel it. And as you're feeling it, know that Spirit joyfully sang this beautiful song on the night you were born too, because you're that kind of wonderful. Namaste.
Pat is passing the talking stick to me. That was so what it was. I would just want to offer us to take a moment to be with that. I personally want to thank you, Pat. That was beautiful, beautiful. And my name is Vicki Jeter, and I'm also a practitioner for Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. And I have the song, what is known popularly as The Little Drummer Boy, but in fact, that song was written as Carol of the Drum, which I didn't know until I started researching this. And I chose that song because it has always resonated with my soul when I hear it. And also because for me, it follows beautifully from this foundation that has been laid by O Holy Night. And I want to share with you 3 pieces very briefly. I'm going to start first with the star, as Pat mentioned, as there may be questions in the room about that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Magi. And then I'm going to talk about the gifts that were brought, and particularly the emphasis of the gift through the story, The Little Drummer Boy. And so the star is been called the Star of David, the Star of Bethlehem. And most of you have probably heard by now, but maybe not, that this extraordinary year has a synchronicity lining up with an extraordinary event in the heavens, that the Star of Bethlehem is set to reappear tomorrow night. And astronomically, what is actually the cause of that brightness in the sky within the heavens is the conjunct between Jupiter and Saturn. And Jupiter and Saturn are going to align so closely that it will appear about 20% the size of the moon for some people that are able to see it. And the timing that this is going to happen tomorrow night is about 45 minutes after sunset. Sunset tomorrow is set to happen at 5:23. And what you want to do is you want to look to the southern hemisphere and look low in the hemisphere, because what will actually happen as it's moving, it will sink like the sun does, and it's going to be pretty low to start with. So the window to be able to see it won't be really long, but probably long enough. And so the significance of that is the last time that this conjunct happened where we could see it as clearly as we have an opportunity tomorrow night was back on July the 16th of 1623. That's about 800 years ago. And so what's true is the origin of the star, there's lots of stories about how that is and why. And for me, that's one of the things I'm so excited about, what I've learned from my ministerial classes, is that the star that they were following originally got drawn into spiritual context through actually what is called Zoroastrianism. And in Zoroastrianism, there was experience that happened about 1,200 years before the birth of Christ through a man called Zoroaster, and he was said to have come from the stars, actually. And then that got carried forward, that he was known as like a Christ figure, and that was said to have happened in cycles. And so through Zoroastrianism, then they said when the Christ came, that that was a returning of the Christ figure. And so the word magi, if you look it up in Christian terms, they take it from like the word magician, like the wise people could do things other people couldn't do, and they thought it was about being a musician or magician. But actually what's true is magi is the Persian word for priest. And so originally it was 3 priests that were drawn by the star, and that's held to be true because of this thing that happens. There was a star in the sky that they were following, and so then the star brings everybody to the baby. And in the song, in the video that you'll see of the song, not only the 3 priests come, and 3 priests were from Persia, Arabia, and India. And they each had a very special gift that they brought. the frankincense and the myrrh and the gold. And then here along come the shepherds, and in the little drummer boy, of course, the smallest shepherd is the little boy that plays the drum. And the significance of that is realizing that we all come with our gift, and that when we can simply show up as who we are and be willing to trust that what we have is the most precious gift to give, and we can give that, then the spirit within us makes that gift come forth as it does in this story of the little drummer boy. And just one more thing I'll say about that. I don't know if you remember in watching the cartoon from when we're little, but the little drummer boy was originally drawn to what was said to be the king because his little lamb was sick. And he wanted, the little lamb's name was Baba, and he wanted a healing for his little lamb. And sure enough, when he plays the drum for the Christ, then the little lamb is healed. And so just watching for that alignment and trusting that you have within you the perfect gift that you were born with. And namaste.
Beautiful, Vicki. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pat. Pat and Vicki and Carolyn have picked traditional songs that have probably been part of your Christmas all your life. The song I picked is Christmas Like a Child by Third Day. And as far as I can tell, it was written in 2006. So I have a very new song to add to our Christmas traditions. And I'd like to read the first stanza is, I want to feel Christmas how it used to be, with all of its wonder falling on me. This season has felt so empty, oh, for quite a while. I want to feel Christmas like a child. So, I am a little bit older than a lot of you. And because I had the most wonderful of mothers, I have always pretty much felt Christmas like a child. Because I kicked out the disease, the disharmony that comes upon us as adults. And every year, I have within my heart at Christmas kindness, joy, and love. I had 2 stepsons, and both of them I know hold Christmas better in their hearts because of me. Because I made sure they knew the joy of kindness and love in your heart. We need to hold those thoughts in our mind this year. Perhaps the most of all, because we have all suffered greatly this year. In one way or another, we've probably all lost someone we loved this year. So it's important to remember to share this Christmas like a child. Namaste.
Okay, when we first started planning this, and they were talking about choosing the songs that we really appreciated and liked as we were growing up in the Christmas, whether it was in a church or whether it was whatever. And so I thought of Away in a Manger, which I thought was very interesting that that's mentioned in the song before this. And I thought about Maybe It's Cold Outside. That always makes me feel protected and loved. And then I thought about the angel we have heard on a high. So then when they told me, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just wrap it all up in one song. I went, okay. Take all of the science of mind teaching, take all the songs that we've heard, all the wonderful things that have been shared with us, and just put it in a nice little thing and just put it out there. So that made me look at things a little differently, trying to find a single song and then bringing it together. And what I decided on was the Angels We Have Heard on High. And it contains the Gloria. And when we talk about Away in the Manger, we talk about all these other things. I want to have Christmas like a child. All of that, the Holy Night. We are talking about the awe of the season, I think. We are talking about that part of us that when we see these things and we hear these stories and we know this, we are just in awe of the great I am. And we stand in that awe, like when I was a little girl and it was Away in a Manger, I didn't have any words for it. I just knew that it was wonderful and I loved that song. But as I've grown gotten old, I've come to understand that that was just the first expression of awe in my life. That feeling that the great I am is it, and that it is all of it, an absolute of it, and it is what I am as well. And so I invite you to enjoy that awe. Now, I chose a version of the Angels. It's a modern version. I don't know how many of you know about the group Pentatonics. Pentatonics won a contest. Contest that I watched years ago. They only use their voices. They don't have any instruments. Any sound that you hear came from one of their voices. And they are just incredible in sharing that. And I wanted to share the song with you in a different way so that you can hear it, so that you can, you know it, but now you don't know it because they sing it so differently. And one of the jobs that we have, maybe the only job, is to open our eyes and see the wonder and the awe and the joy that is Spirit, and that is you, and that is me. Namaste.
Today, and I'm sorry we don't get to meet one-on-one or in groups after service, but know that I hold your thoughts and your prayers in my heart all day today. Only the highest and best for you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're on to prosperity. And because I am practitioner, I will do the prosperity affirmation. And Pat is holding up our giving basket. Knowing everyone wants to help Phil, we certainly appreciate all of your donations, whether they're by mail in our post office box, given through PayPal donate button on your constant contact email, or the Givelify app on your phone, on the computer. And I do that every Sunday morning. Right as service begins, I get on my Givelify app, I hit 3 buttons, and I've made my donation. Your support sustains us and allows us to be here every Sunday. Okay, so I'm going to do the prosperity affirmation, and then once I'm done, we'll say it all together. This week's is, if the only prayer I ever say is thank you, it will be enough. And if you'll join with me, please. If the only prayer I ever say is thank you, it will be enough. Thank you so much. Now we go into announcements. Our guest speaker will be our lead-in to 2021, Reverend Rick McCullough. That's next Sunday. Tomorrow, Monday night, December 21st, the winter solstice, and in the southwest horizon, Jupiter and Saturn aligned for the first time since 1226, almost 800 years ago. I can't get over that. To create the bright light of what was thought to be the Star of Bethlehem. I know I will not be able to stay awake to see it, but I hope some of you will, and you can tell me how wonderful it was. Vicki has some information she would like to share about this year's World Peace Meditation at 7 a.m. on Thursday, December 31st, and also about 2 opportunities to virtually join other communities in the Christmas Eve service.
Thank you, Tammy. So taking them in order, on the 23rd of December, there's going to be a regional Christmas service. And I was on a meeting with the team that's going to be participating in that. It's going to be the Columbus Church, the Cleveland Church, and our church, inviting our communities together, 7 o'clock in the evening on the 23rd. It's not going to be our link. It's going to be the Columbus Church link. So we're going to be putting the link out for you in the weekly update. And then I might also send it out by email just to try to make sure that everybody has an access to it. It's kind of fun because they're following a format much like this, but it's going to be different songs. And also we're going to do a candle lighting service at the end. So if you do happen to attend, you can bring a candle and a lighter, and that's not required. It's an option. But I'm very excited about that opportunity because I have a feeling that it might become a regional tradition that we're aiming for. And then on the night of the 24th, the church that Carolyn and I hail from in Texas is doing a Christmas Eve service, and that's going to be 8 o'clock our time, and you don't have to worry about a Zoom link because they're going to be on Facebook Live. So any of you who are comfortable getting onto Facebook, all you have to do is go to Creative Life Spiritual Center, and I'll be putting that information about that out too. It's Creative Life Spiritual Center in Texas, onto their Facebook page. And when they go live, you can just click a little button and you'll be there with them at 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve, our time. And I know there's lots of time zones here. So these times I'm giving you are all Eastern time. So if you're not in the Eastern time, do the conversion. And then the World Peace Meditation happens on the morning of the 31st of December. And it's at 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And there again, do your time zone conversion. And this year, we're going to be doing it in conjunction with National Centers for Spiritual Living. And it is going to be on Zoom. And there will be a phone number as well. For those of you who are not comfortable getting on the computer, you can dial in, such as Juliana has this morning. You can just, there'll be a phone number you can dial with the access code. And there again, we'll be putting that information out about the link and the phone number in separate messages. So you might watch your email a little more carefully for these emails to come out that have this information involved. And I'm so excited about the whole thing. I hope you can all come. And if you have any questions, you can always get a hold of me too. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Vicki. All righty. I have the honor of doing our closing treatment today. During my practitioner studies, one of the classes we took was a class on mystics. And it was pretty exciting. And we all had to pick a mystic. Reverend Carolyn, that was the very first day. She gave us plenty of notice to pick our own mystic. My mystic I chose was Saint Teresa of Avila. When I was confirmed, which is a Catholic rite, Saint Teresa was my choice at that time. And I was, I guess I would have been 9 years old. Then, funnily enough, the 8th grade, I went to Saint Teresa for my 8th grade. So Saint Teresa has always followed me around. And my first 2 prayers every morning are, number 1, Thank you. I believe that wholeheartedly. And then my next prayer, which I have said every day since my class on mystics, I'm going to read as our closing treatment. She wrote this over 500 years ago. Can you just get around 500 years ago? And every sentence in this prayer could have been written today and as meaningful today as it was 500 years ago. And it's called the bookmark prayer. Let nothing disturb you, nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Nothing is wanting to him who possesses God. God alone suffices. And so it is. And I wish for you that you may feel this Christmas with the wonder of a child. And God bless us, everyone. Thank you all. Now we go to Reverend Rick for our closing.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to offer our closing song today. And as Science of Mind teaching, we are a metaphysical teaching. And so we look at what's going on in the world and around us. And one of the things I love is that as a religious science or science of mind teaching, being metaphysical, we look at the Christmas holiday and we look at what does that say for us? Well, Christmas is all about the Christ being born. And we are each birthing that Christ consciousness within ourselves. And so that's the reminder for me each time, is that Christ consciousness is being birthed in me each and every day, not just Christmas Day. So the song that I have for our closing, we've looked at some of the traditional songs. We've looked at Christmas as a child. And I want to appeal to that inner child in each and every one of you. No matter what age we are, we have that inner child. So the song we're closing with today is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let me share with you that the Rudolph of us is that part of us that doesn't really fully comprehend that we have that spark of divinity in us, that we are divine beings having a human experience. Now, Santa is Jesus, or the Christ consciousness here. And it encourages us to let our light shine, to use our unique gifts to bring peace and healing to the world. You'll see in the video, the room where Santa finds Rudolph, that is representing going into the silence. When we go into the silence, we find our inner light. We find our connection with spirit. And it's in this silence that we become one with Christ. Santa's sleigh stands for our positive giving state of consciousness. And that's our vehicle for unlimited prosperity, for the infinite possibilities and the abundance that's available in our lives as we birth that Christ consciousness and allow that state of knowing God is all there is and knowing that we are unlimited. Santa, remember, gave Rudolph a choice. He invited Rudolph to lead his sleigh. Rudolph could have refused, and we would have had quite a different story. Rudolph would have missed the opportunity of a lifetime. So my question for you to think about today, are you stepping into the opportunities that Spirit is offering to you? Rudolph could have kept his light under a bushel, so to speak, but instead he listened to that still small voice within, that still small voice that said, Will you guide my sleigh tonight? Will you let your light shine? As was said earlier, I am that great I am. We are one with Spirit. We are one with God. We are the Christ consciousness that heals the world. And I think this is one of the best messages for this song. Let your light shine. Share your gifts with the world and answer the call to express your divinity. Enjoy Rudolph. Namaste.